Now, let's just leave Dick the composer, but not before we acknowledge, and I do because I've got grandchildren, the joy, gentle, one could say innocent theme song for Play School has given to millions of Australian children. And also the hymns by Dick and James in the Living Parish hymn book sold over 1 million copies in the 1960s, incidentally, and it made it possible for us all to sing worthy hymns in an Australian voice. I want to conclude by paying tribute to the friendship I've been blessed with in you, Dick. Cicero said, "Avici probanta rebus adversus." Friends are proved in adversity. And in the period of my life when I was an outcast from the community I most love and revere, the Catholic Church, you proved your friendship with beloved Jenny, and later, of course, you, Cynthia. You stood by me and Dinny, my beloved wife Denise, as you have done all through those 60 years. But before all else, I wish to acknowledge the strength I have drawn from you and your total and in some senses passionate adherence to the Catholic faith. For all that, Dick, I thank you, and I ask you all to rise and drink a toast to Richard Connolly on his 80th birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Quick. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
Three cheers for Molony.
kill that time.
Thank you, John. Can you hear me okay?
No.
Okay? No. A bit closer to the mic? How's that now? Okay? Am I popping the mic with John Lee? Okay. Okay, well, here we go. First of all, I want to say that I can't really express what joy it gives to be around to so many of my friends and most of my family. That's just wonderful. And I suppose I really should say, particularly those who came from afar. Michael, who surprised me by turning up at that mass from New York, and also Hugh, who didn't surprise me, but who came all the way from London, having just finished work before he came, flying one plane himself and then getting into another one, and Peter and Margaret coming from the Barossa, and Rodney from Melbourne, Patrick from Hardin, John and Denise from Canberra. There are quite a few thank yous. Thank you, George, and your co-celebrants, Father Peter, and John DeLuca, who unavoidably arrived late and so wasn't a co-celebrant, but thank God you're here, John. And two very dear friends of each of them, 50 years, Pat Canard and Ed Campbell. And thank you, Noel, and thank you so much, you and the choir. I really can't say it. There is not an individual or a couple in this room to whom I'm not indebted for a kindness or a grace. Some of them small, some big, and some so immense that I can never repay them. Both autem Dixie amigos. I call you my friends. That's a quote from my best friend. I call you my friends. So thank you all, and remember the words of William Butler Yeats. Think where man's glory most begins and ends, and say my glory was I had such friends. The municipal. Yeah. Thank you especially to my family. Yeats didn't quite say it all. My chiefest glory is my family. Brothers, sisters, 5 dear grandsons. Is Remy still there and clear? Yeah, good. Put up your hands. And the others. And especially my children, of whom I am proud. I'm proud because they are good. They're good. You're good you're good in yourselves, and you're good to one another, and you're good to me. I thank you for your love, whose reality and whose presence I feel even when you're not consciously expressing it. When Jeremy or Tony brings me about the footy or a good wine, when Helen brings about a good novel, or Chris from Toulouse about his latest bit of music, or Hugh with news from Sunbury-on-Thames, or Polly or Susie, nearly always about grandsons. Whatever they're talking about, I feel the love as they talk to me. And thank you, Jenny, for being such a wonderful mother to 8 of my children, for having given me more than I can ever repay, and for your precious friendship. My life has been filled with blessings, starting with my parents. And that's not unusual, because most blessings in my life and most people's lives, I think, come in the shape of persons, people. In that sense, this room is filled with blessings tonight. There's John Chalice. Where are you, John? Yes, there you are. It's exactly 50 years ago since we first met, this year, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I work it out. And at that time, 50 years ago, little did we know that we would be not just friends, but allies. I use the word advisedly, through many fights and struggles with people whose names will not be mentioned during my career at the ABC. I think that our family, my children too, have reason to thank you and Arthur for the lovely times that you let us stay in your beautiful house at Rombara. You don't live there anymore. I can't understand why, because I would never have been able to leave it. But thank you for those lovely times that you gave us there. Other blessings might have come from what might have been mistakes, wrong turnings. I went off as a schoolboy, aged 14, in 1942, to start on the road towards the priesthood. What a ridiculous idea. I mean, you know, prepubescence and pubescence at the height of their puberty, as you might say, sort of suddenly allowed to make the sort of decision. Anyway, the church has wisely turned its back on that method, so it doesn't happen anymore. But anyway, I started out on the road to the priesthood, a wrong turn, you might say. 8 years later in Rome, that move had clearly turned out to be a mistake, and in some ways it wasn't good for me. 8 years wasted? Not a bit. What blessings came in its train. I'd never have had such wonderful teachers. In all my schooling, I only ever had one teacher whom I regard as below. I'd never have gone to Rome and learned to love Italy and speak its language. I'd never have learned to live in brotherhood in our college, as John has spoken of, with young men from certainly over 30, I think I counted 32 different nationalities. Europeans, Asians, Africans. It's quite an extraordinary thing for a young man of 18. And I'd never have learned to live in